of the most respected lawyer in Nigeria, Femi Falana, has reacted to the Supreme Court judgment that affirms Tinubu as the authentic winner of the election. During the interview in Arise TV, in Channel TV per se, this man said that the judiciary not supposed to be the one that will determine who wins the presidency. It's just because that the INEC has refused to do their work. And now they have shifted their work. They have shifted their responsibility of determining the person that's supposed to win the election at the polling unit, and now shifted it to the Supreme Court to decide, which is not what is supposed to be. One of the things this man said in this interview that I would like you to watch this video to the end is that, do you know that most of the problem, most of the things we are passing through in Nigeria are caused by our leaders? They are doing it intentionally to put Nigerians down. Do you know that there was something called currency swap Nigeria and China did? An agreement they had together. This currency swap is just like having an agreement that Nigerians will come to Ghana, will come to China and buy goods with naira. China will come to Nigeria and buy goods with their own currency, thereby reducing the demand for dollar. And by doing this, you will now see that naira will still have value again. Because the reason why naira is losing value in the parallel market is just because the high demand of dollar. Do you know that in BRICS, that Nigeria is not accepted to be one of the members of the BRICS because of the way our leaders are handling our country? This man revealed so many things, and he said that our political leaders should come together, that the worst election that is being conducted in the whole Africa is being done in Nigeria as far as election is concerned, more especially in our different states. You will come to a state that want to conduct a local government election, and you discover that one party that is on the seat will be the one to win the whole seat in that particular state where it's being done. There is nowhere you will go and such a thing will happen. This man, I would like you to watch this video to the end and listen to what this man got to say, and make sure you share this video. Don't keep it to yourself, because some of the things we are passing through is being orchestrated by our leaders. They don't want us to see the good thing. They don't want Nigeria to prosper. No wonder our economy is still the way it is today. Thank you very much, guys. I remain my humble self, the Eichmann. Watch the video to the end. We move regardless.
Court judgment. Now that has happened. Now we need to focus on governance. But the state of the nation needs some careful attention under the Bola Tinubu administration. Mr. Femi Falana is a right activist and a senior advocate of Nigeria. He joins us live from Lagos. Thank you so much, Mr. Falana, for your time tonight. Give us your own view as a senior lawyer, someone who has monitored, studied, understood our electoral jurisprudence. What do you make of the Supreme Court judgment, the outcome, the affirmation of Bola Tinubu's election?
Well, no doubt the judgment of the Supreme Court ascended the electoral contestation as far as the presidential election conducted in February this year is concerned. But for sure, it is not a judicial endorsement of the conduct of the election by INEC. And what I mean is that even with the judgment, it is very clear that Nigeria has a long way to go in terms of ensuring that credible elections are conducted, elections that will be devoid of acrimony, elections that all of us will be proud of. But we're still a long way from there, even with the judgment. I mean, again, as I said, yes, for now, the presidential election is concluded. It should have been concluded in February, but it had just been concluded by the Supreme Court. And it shouldn't be so. The judiciary should not determine the winners of election. Judges are not suited to determine the winners of election. That is a job that is exclusively reserved for INEC if things are done properly. And that is why we must put an end to the shame that has become our Lord in terms of conducting elections. Because we must all realize at all times that this country, Nigeria, is the largest concentration of black people on earth. And we therefore have a greater responsibility to put our house in order so that black people will not be insulted all over the world. And it doesn't take so much to conduct good elections if members of the political class are honest and dedicated to the conduct of transparent election. But that is not there. And what has worsened the case is the culture of impunity. All those who were arrested for mismanaging the last elections, thugs, including those who were armed, those who were caught with thousands of dollars or naira or millions of naira, have been let off the hook. And so it's business as usual. We are simply waiting for the next election. Once the gubernatorial elections and legislative elections disputes are over. We can't go on like this. We can't go on like this.
Mr. Falana, are you disappointed, by the way, with the manner in which, of course, those who are aggrieved, they went to court, but the manner of which the election was conducted is what has led them to go to court, to challenge the process, to challenge the outcome of the election. And we've seen an increasingly higher number of litigation on our election, which seems to have doused around 2015, but again, it rose in 2023. And I'm wondering what could have been the cause of the rising number of litigation over our elections. Are you disappointed in the conduct of that election, perhaps in the integrity of the umpire?
Now, Sean, it will interest you to know that since 2003, we recorded the lowest number of election petitions this year. You'll be surprised. Just about 426 election petitions. Whereas in 2003 and 2007, we're talking of close to 1,000, over 1,000 in 2007. Now, at that time, again, contrary to what many people feel, the 2007 election, presidential election, was narrowly won in the Supreme Court by the late Umaru Musa, Yar'Adua. It was a 4-3 narrow, justices of the Supreme Court that decided that case. And that was why the president said, the election that brought me into office is highly flawed. Therefore, I am going to put in place an electoral reforms panel to look at our electoral system and put an end to the shameful conduct of elections in Nigeria. If I made the point earlier, if INEC conducts good elections, nobody will go to court. In fact, you have had situations in Nigeria, particularly in 2015 or thereabout, where losers congratulated the winners. And that is how it should be. Particularly in this days of conducting elections with the aid of technology. Let everybody see what you are doing. If you say you are going to transmit election results, you must transmit. And that was the point I thought was not quite canvassed for me. Regardless of what Section 66 of the Electoral Act provides. Once INEC has gone out telling Nigerians repeatedly, the INEC chairman was in the US, was in the UK, telling the whole world, we are going to transmit election results. You don't need any other law. By what you call the doctrine of estoppel, promissory estoppel, you cannot go back and say, I never said it. You are banned by your promise. You are banned by your commitment. Open declaration. So for us, we must begin to get it right. Again, as I said, once you operate a system whereby those who violate the law are not brought to book, you are not going to get it right. And this is why these violations of the Electoral Act have continued. We recorded the highest number of pre-election cases this year, 1,878. The Federal High Court, for several months, couldn't handle any other case. Because the National Assembly, again, outside the provisions of the Constitution, decided to task the Federal High Court, with the enormous responsibility of dealing with pre-election matter. And why did that happen? Party shiftings in the majority of the political parties put the Electoral Act aside and decided to impose candidates on the electorate. So many aggrieved persons went to court. In 2019, we had about, 750 pre-election cases. Last year, 1,878. So, and those are the guys who are challenging INEC for not conducting good elections. Those who could not conduct good primaries in their political parties. Today, Nigeria conducts the worst local government elections in Africa, whereby the candidates of the ruling party in any of the states must win all chairmanship and councillorship elections. It doesn't happen anywhere, apart from Nigeria. And again, these are the guys who are blaming INEC for not conducting good elections. So the members of the Nigerian political class will have to be tasked by the Nigerian people. We have to be challenged by the Nigerian people. Whether they want democracy or autocracy, whether they want popular democracy as opposed to bourgeois democracy, whether they want maximum participation of the Nigerian people as opposed to, participation in the election by a few money bags. I believe that the intervention of the Supreme Court, and at the end of the day, other courts, will force us to go back to the drawing table and address double nomination, use of technology to conduct elections, whereby it will be made optional, it will be compulsory. We must have electoral offenses commission to deal with electoral offenses. We must go back to the implementation of the recommendations of the Waste Panel, i.e., that honors of proof of good elections, credible elections, should rest on either. You claim you have conducted good elections, come and prove it. But you have a situation whereby the petitioner will find it difficult to serve the respondent. The petitioner will find it difficult to obtain election materials to prove the petition. But if the onus is reversed, and INEC is asked to come and prove the conduct of good election, you have all the materials. And some of my colleagues are far. How do you do that? I said, well, no, it's like you file a petition, an application, challenging the detention of a Nigerian or a citizen. Once you can show the court that Mr. C0.urt is being detained in the Ikeja police station, that's all. The onus shifts to the police to justify before the court. Why was he arrested? Why was he detained? How many days can you detain him? Why have you not brought him to trial? So, since you claim to have conducted good elections, please come and prove it. And that was the point the Wales panel was making.
Mr. Falana, I need to take you to issues of governance, and particularly, you wrote a letter which got my interest, which you wrote to the Minister of Finance.
Yes.
But I'd like to quickly get your attention, just in 60 seconds quickly, on what former President Jonathan said today when he visited President Tinubu at the presidential villa. He said, we must move forward and elections are over. How easy do you think Nigerians can move forward? Those who think that mandates have been stolen, these elections was not right, INEC has failed Nigerians, they are disappointed in the court, the justices of the courts have also disappointed them. Those are the belief of some people. How easy are we to move forward? How can we move forward from all of these scenarios and all of these arguments by some Nigerians, especially in the face of what Nigerians face right now under the Tinubu presidency?
No, Sean, as I said, we have only concluded the presidential election with the judgment of the Supreme Court delivered yesterday. Election petitions are ongoing in the majority of the states. Election petitions are ongoing with respect to a number of legislative seats. So the election will not be concluded until later in the year or later in the year. And it shouldn't be so. 3 African countries conducted presidential elections in the last 1 year. In the other 2 countries, Angola and Kenya, the petitions were determined within 14 days, either by the Constitutional Court or the Supreme Court. It's only in Nigeria where you have 2 or 3 cadres, judicial cadres, to determine who the governor of a state is. That was not the position in Nigeria before now. Up to 2011, all election petitions terminated with respect to governorship election, terminated at the Court of Appeal. Why are we talking of 3 stages for presidential, 2 stages, Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court? For legislative elections, Election Petition Tribunal and the Court of Appeal. Why should that of the governor be 3 stages? These are issues to resolve. With respect to President Jonathan, yes, I agree with you with the Supreme Court ascended the dispute over the presidential election. But for other elections, you know, we're still in court, you know. The other point, you cannot have political stability if the economy is taken over by foreign interest. If the economy is not run in the interest of the Nigerian people, if majority of people are poor and they cannot afford even 1 meal a day, not to talk of 3 square meals, we are in trouble. And that is where we are. If the value of your currency is being destroyed daily by the dollarization of the economy and the manipulation of the exchange rates by the so-called market forces who are really economic members of what you might call economic cabal. So you cannot talk of you can't talk of democracy. And that is why this government must address some of the concerns that are being raised. I just sent a letter to the Minister of Finance.
Has he responded to you, Mr. Falana? Has the Minister of Finance responded to your letter?
No.
34 billion US dollars is involved here, right here. You are alleging and saying that money... 34.2 billion US dollars.
Yes.
That's a lot of money.
Taken illegally by the NNPCL. NNPCL. That money was destined. It was meant to be paid to the Federation account. This is money. This is our dividend. And feed gas money, earned by the LNG and paid to the Federation account via the NNPCL. But NNPCL cornered the money. And so we are asking questions. The other letter I'm sending to the government, again, has to do with the judgment delivered by the Supreme Court in October 2018 to the fact that the federal government shall collect outstanding royalties from 6 oil companies, international oil companies, OICs, and to the tune of $62 billion. So from the two sources, we are talking of about $100 billion. I don't want to go into other areas. So why are we punishing ourselves? 5 years ago, the Chinese and the Nigerian governments sat down and agreed to have currency swap. Now, why have Nigerians been denied the opportunity to go to China and buy goods in naira, but paying naira, not dollars, so that Chinese can also come to Nigeria and spend yuan? Where we are today, the world is moving. Nigeria is being left behind. The 5 years ago, the Chinese and the Nigerian government sat down to agree to have currency swap, trade your own currency. Now, why? But our own country is being more Catholic. The opportunity to go to China, you have and buy Saudi Arabia in naira, but paying naira, UAE and others are now so that Chinese can also come to Nigeria. We're neutral. We're not there. Where we are today, the world is moving. Nigeria is being looking for dollars in Nigeria. We have a problem whereby in our own country, we are ignoring the naira. People are spending the dollar to pay school fees, to buy properties, to pay rents, and so on and so forth. You cannot run an economy,
Mr. Falana,
that will be in the interest of Nigeria.
I mean, I have just about 60 seconds or less to close the program, but I'd like you to wrap up for us on this note. We were optimistic and thought that the present government may not want to borrow, but we now know that they will have to borrow to be able to get the economy working. And they said there is a line of sight of a certain amount of billions that need to be injected into the economy, because as of today, we understand that naira and the dollar is about 1,000 to 1,100 or 1,200 naira. If you are to tell President Tinubu, if you are to tell President Tinubu of what to do urgently tonight, especially with the heavy burden of debt that we carry, to fix our economy, what must be done? Don't forget that there is a heat poverty in the land, Mr. Falana.
I am saying that there is no way the value of the naira will pick up if we continue to take instructions from the IMF and World Bank to run our economy. Today, it is only those two institutions, two Bretton Woods institutions, that are commending the government for removing fuel subsidy, that are, without investigation, the fraud that characterize the importation of fuel. Those are the two institutions commending the government for floating the naira. You don't float a currency. Apart from a banana republic, how can you float your currency when you do not control the dollar? So these are issues that the government will have to address. And I'm saying publicly, if the government is prepared, I know a team of lawyers that can help the government to recover not less than $200 billion between 3 and 6 months. So the government will have to really go back to the drawing table. How can we organize this country in the interest of our people and also in the interest of the government? Because the government is political stability.
We're in a dire situation. Mr. Lateef Fagbemi is your very good colleague in the bar. I mean, I'm very certain that he's listening. The president, I'm also very sure that he might be watching, or his aides might be telling him of what has transpired on the program tonight. We need to get this country working again. But I must sincerely thank you, Mr. Falana, for your thought on this Friday. Instructive, and I hope that our leaders will get something out of this and take the right decision. Thank you so much indeed. Let us seek for your time tonight.
Thank you very much, Shem.
I appreciate it. That's all for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'll see you on Sunday at 8 p.m. I'm sure Akimale. God bless Nigeria.